Hey friends, so it's time for another Fridays with Francis. And this week I was reading about a time when Francis Asbury had one of his preachers had crossed over the Allegheny Mountains, which if you're not aware of geography in the eastern U.S., the Allegheny Mountains, part of the Appalachian Mountains, which run from Georgia all the way up, I believe, into Canada. The Alleghenies are kind of like West Virginia and then into western Pennsylvania, which is an area that I've crossed over many times on a nice, beautiful road, traveling, 70, 80 miles per hour, never a problem. Well, back in the early 1800s, this was a very dangerous mountain range to cross over with the Indians there. And just it being unsettled, you never knew what you would encounter. And Asbury had a preacher who had crossed over the other side and had reached out to him, sent a letter back, and asked for help. The gospel message was spreading. People were coming to the Lord. He needed more help. And so one day, as Asbury is preparing to go join his fellow preacher, he's in a church in Virginia, and he shares with the church members that he will soon be crossing over the Allegheny Mountains and joining and helping his preacher. Well, suddenly a few men raised their hands and offered to assist Asbury across the mountains because of the danger. They said, "Let us help you." And Asbury tried to resist them and said, the Lord would be his guide. And they said, "That's all well and good too, sir, but why don't you allow us to keep guard over you as well?" And so about 6 men or so volunteered and were set to go off with Asbury. Well, suddenly word began spreading and families began joining in. They decided, let's pack up our belongings, let's join Bishop Asbury, cross over the Alleghenies, preach the good news, and start a new life over there. So as they left that area in Virginia, 60 people joined Asbury to cross over the Alleghenies to share the good news, and many to start a new life on that side. As I was thinking about that, again, thinking how I've crossed over those mountains plenty of times, never any problem. And in our world today, there's not much left to explore, right, and to settle. But there are still huge areas of our world that do not have easy access to the gospel like we have here. And so I just wanted to take a minute and share a bit of our why, of why the Hallahans are crossing the Alleghenies, going into Kentucky. Thankfully, it's a lot easier than it was back in Asbury's day. But God has put in us this desire, this passion to make disciples. And for that to be really our job, much like it was for Asbury. And in Uganda, we had the opportunity to make disciples with university students and elementary and secondary students. And it was just a beautiful time. And I would many times quip that I never knew why God called this Jersey boy to go to Uganda. And even still, I wonder, why is God calling this Jersey boy to go to Kentucky, to a little town called Wilmore? But I do firmly believe that it is part of God's master plan of making sure that his gospel message reaches the nations, reaches every people. We're going to have students at Asbury University, at Asbury Seminary, who will go out to the nations here in the U.S. and abroad. With FAS, we will also have opportunity ourselves to physically go and to partner with local churches around the world, empowering them to make disciples, sending them out on the mission field, crossing over the Alleghenies, and sharing the good news. And so while I might not understand all of God's strategies or why he's taken us from Jersey now to Kentucky, I firmly believe that this is what he's called us to do, and we're excited to be a part of that. We're excited to spend our lives making disciples. And so as I read today of these families joining Asbury on the journey, we just want to continue to ask you to join us as we join FAS, and most importantly, as we all join in what God is doing and making disciples to the nations. There may be treacherous paths ahead, but he has called us, and he is faithful, and he will keep us. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.